Islam, peace and hotep. We're here for another class with Canaanland Moors, 21st of July 2015. Today's class, Black Power cannot win the race war. So, as usual, we're gonna go into what we go into. Before we do that, we'll just get our reading to be read every meeting that hasn't been read 80 years or whatever. So we just want to get that in there. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. And if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans, not the fake ones, the true ones, that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Now, this is 2015, right? The Moorish Americans have had their independence declared since July 20th, 1928, when this was established. Our authority. What does our authority mean? That means self-governance. So we're supposed to be governing ourselves. We should have supposed to have been doing that, right? But before we go there, we want to get a little background on, our people's involvement, because I'm looking at these rallies and whatever going on, KKK and Black Panther Party clashing, and all I'm seeing is, Europeans already did their part, They put the guns to some Negroes. Been doing that, not even nothing new. I seen some new Black Panther Party beat up on some Europeans. I seen them rip some flags and stuff like that. But this quote that they like to talk about, kill crackers, kill the white man or whatever, I'm not seeing them exercising too much of that. But, they got more guns than everybody. They're always posing on their little social media or whatever with guns and stuff like that, kill crackers. But all I see them doing is beating up people. So there's obviously something wrong. There's obviously, it's obviously not really about a race war. Because, if we're in war, that means, kill people or whatever. So we want to get a Southerner's perspective, right? We want to get a Southerner's perspective on this flag. Civil war. And, what's really going on? I'm not Southern, I'm North. North. So all we did was hear about that stuff, telegrams and whatever, right? But people who were there, who are from that area, have a whole different perspective than what outsiders have. Just like people outside of Moorish science shouldn't be talking about Moorish science, because, you guys don't know anything, right? So I'm going to bring my brother in, my good brother, Brother ObaShango-El, We did some lectures back in the day, 2000, mid 2000s or whatever. And this was one of the brothers that we brought back then to, you know, bring us in tune with the Orishas and, you know, metaphysics and things of that nature. So, being that I know his demonstration does not just include metaphysics, high science, or whatever. It includes history. So we wanted to get his perspective on, you know, what he thinks is this thing is, you know, that's going on, and some historical facts about the South that Moors maybe need to consider, so they don't start jumping on bandwagons, going and marching with Negro, blacks, and colored people about some flag and stuff like that. Because you hear Moors are. We want to get onto that right now. We'll just cue brother up. Brother ObaShango-El.
I'm here, brother.
There's a lot more. I'm just gonna put the phone to the mic and let us know what's up.
All right, then, brother. Peace and love, everybody. Peace and blessings. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm more than happy and honored that Brother Kudu has asked me to speak on the situation dealing with the flag and what's going on with it as far as the Black Power movement. Well, if we have to be honest, you know, we're going to be honest about, you know, everything. We got to be honest about everything in its entirety, not what we choose to be honest about. A lot of the people that's dealing with this flag issue right now are uneducated in the history of it. In fact, the truth be told, they're actually uneducated in the whole history of the South. And what they're actually living under right now is what I call Reconstructionist, Vatican, and Bankers Revisionist history. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. Reconstructionist, Vatican, and Banker Revisionist history means that ever since the South had lost the Civil War, everything was reconstructed. How history was going to be taught from that point forward, how the power structure as far as so-called Negroes and so-called whites would interplay, as well as the economics. See, what they're not telling you is that a vast majority of these Caucasians, Albions, so-called misnomer white people, a majority of them did not come from wealthy plantations. The vast majority of them were actually on the plantation themselves. And you can tell it if you live down here in the South by just dialoguing with them. Who's educated, who's very educated, and who's not. Now, a lot of these misnomer so-called blacks, some of them, men, were also from these same working class conditions, but there are some down here in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Tennessee, various southern states, as to where a lot of these people are actually descendants of plantation owners, as in they actually have the blood of their nigger industry, being known as chattel slavery, coursing through their veins. Contrary to popular belief, there were several plantations that were owned by people that looked just like you and I, Moors. And not only that, when the war had come to a point where it was about to break out, a lot of people think that, you know, that if you see so-called blacks in these old Confederate pictures, that what had happened was they were enlisted by the South to help fight, and if they did fight, then they would gain their freedom. Let's take a look at that and see what type of logic does that make. Why would you arm someone who you've been oppressing. And the moment you give that person a gun, they can kill you. Why would I want to fight for you when now you put a gun in my hand and all I have to do is kill you? You know, that doesn't even make sense. A lot of these people are actually wealthy plantation owners, and they had a commercial interest in the maintenance of slavery. They had enslaved the Albion as well as the prisoner of war, which was the Moor, or the captured on being captured on our land. So they actually bought into the whole structure of chattel slavery in the South, and they decided with the Albion, the Europeans, to say, look, we got to keep the Moors out of our business. This thing was strictly about economics. It had nothing to do with the suppression of a skin color whatsoever. There's a whole picture, I want to say drawn in the 1800s, and it has Abraham Lincoln. It looks like a cartoon. And Abraham Lincoln is basically proclaiming freedom at the time for the so-called Negro and the so-called black. And, not so-called black, excuse me, the so-called Negro and the so-called white. And you actually see both of them kneeling down, thanking Abraham Lincoln for his gracious for liberation. So that right there is a key and a telltale sign to the history in and of itself that shows you that, hey, that this thing was basically without color. It was a caste and a class system, strictly based off of free labor. So now we have this, what they call the Confederate flag. Everybody has a problem with this flag. And actually, that's not the Confederate flag. That's not the flag of the Confederacy. The flag of the Confederacy looks altogether totally different. What a lot of people actually call the Confederate flag is actually, man, the Tennessee Confederate Army battle flag. That's what that is. And so a lot of people have to do the history to understand that. So a lot of these Europeans that's going around this day and time waving that flag, they're ignorant because they don't even have any idea that they're actually supporting an instrument of a vast majority of their oppression in the 1800s. And not only that, you have the so-called African Americans this day and time who has a problem with that flag because he thinks that flag totally represents his oppression. And, you know, during the slavery and the Civil War era, which actually both of them are incorrect. So they're fighting over something that the vast majority of them is actually could be opposite. So the Europeans were enslaved while that flag was on the battlefield, and some of the so-called African Americans were plantation owners on the battlefield, fighting to maintain their economic commercial interests. So, as Moors, we don't have anything to do with that. This issue over the flag, we have absolutely nothing to do with it because we're taught to study, and you have to know history. Those who do not completely understand history or forget history are doomed to repeat its mistakes.
Oh, quick interjection, Mark. You just made a statement about study. Where do you get that from? And what's your view on the person who made that quote or statement?
As far as study? Yeah. That's Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali opened my eyes to a lot of things. I did not fully, the prophet didn't begin to unfold to me until I started to go into other areas dealing with nationality and reconnection to history and land. And that's one of the things a lot of the folks began to unfold. When I started going into the genetic science, a lot of things said about the blood made sense, about the blood of every nation flowing through their veins. When he talked about the gold, silver, and commerce, when I started dealing in gold and silver, I mean, everything that he said, he was so far ahead of his time. If I had to actually say, well, what did Noble Drew Ali mean to you? The only thing that could come to my mind was the time machine. Where the man actually had been in a time machine, the story of the man had been in the time machine and going so far in the future. Well, to me, Noble Drew Ali is the reverse. He's like somebody that came from the future. And he brought something back that now we're just beginning to really fully comprehend 100 years, almost 100 years later. 100 years later after he brought it, and almost 100 years past his transition. So, I learned that from Noble Drew Ali. We study everything. But, prior to that, my father always taught me as a child, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. And he got that from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, we are to study. We are to understand, because it's not, especially this day and time, deception is so swift that you could be swept up into a current of something that you absolutely had no business being in. Now you have, for example, back to the flag. Now you have the African Americans jumping on the so-called white man about this flag and beating them up and stuff, this, that, and the third. Whereas, if you actually knew the true history of it, all you had to do to diffuse any situation and to bring a shock value to the person who you would say is your enemy. Did you know your people were enslaved under that flag? That's all you have to say to the Caucasian. Did you know your people were enslaved under that flag? And that flag actually represented your continuance and your ancestors' oppression on southern plantations? Did you know that? And 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't even know that. So now what's going to happen is for him to hear that out from the mouth of a so-called African American, it's going to mess his mind up. That's what you call psychological warfare. And he would be forced to go home and study and then find out the truth. And guess what? The flags would disappear on their own. Because word of mouth, the knowledge of it would spread. The knowledge of it would spread, and would also do damage to them that he heard this from somebody who he called African American. That knowledge was imparted to him by somebody who he thinks is his enemy. So, I mean, there are several ways to handle this. Now, this is what's being done. Right now, America is being opened up for global international commerce. That's why the movers have to be ready. We have to be on point and establish ourselves in very many venues, as many venues, available venues as we can. Right now, my study is on genetics and how genes interplay, or your gene pool and your genetic inheritance interplays in the law. So far, what I've studied is right now the highest law on the land is right to blood. Nothing can supersede it. So right now we know that we're under foreign occupation by the machine known as United States Corporation Democracy. Okay. The thing about it is, being that it's a corporation, it still has to have a base to operate on. It's the land. Now, being that we are tied to the oldest remains and artifacts over here in archaeological digs, the Pygmy Skulls of Tennessee, the Topper site of South Carolina, the Huaylaco site in Mexico. We know we're the oldest people over in the land. We know these people don't have money to pay us for the occupation of our land. We know they don't have money to pay us for doing business on the land. So the thing about it is, you want your status in a position where actually what happens is they're going to be forced then to write off everything for you, because they can't pay you. They can't dig gold up from the ground that you live on and pay you with your own assets. They can't dig up silver. They can't cut down any wood on your land and try to pay you with it. They don't have anything to pay you with. So you want to jockey yourself into a position by which your right to blood alone, they're going to have to nullify everything. And that's what I've been working on now. But right now, back to the flag, what they are doing with this flag flag, they're creating such an issue because they know a vast majority of our people, and I hate to say it, they're ignorant on this issue. Number one, they're waving the Marcus Garvey United flag and calling it Black Power, when Marcus Garvey in and of himself had made a quote about nationality, dealing with Thomas Jefferson in one of his books. I can't exactly quote the title of the book right now. And he also said, a man without, people without knowledge, history, and culture is like a tree without roots. So that in and of itself, knowledge, history, culture, origin, can't exactly quote it verbatim. But he said it's like a tree without roots. So that means that if you're waving that flag, the red, black, and green flag, you were charged with a duty to study. You were charged with the duty to study. And you are actually supposed to know your knowledge, history, culture, and origin. You're actually supposed to know that if you're waving that flag, you're supposed to know you're at home. You're supposed to know the America is your home. So you're talking about going back to Africa. That's our cousin's estate over there. That's our cousin's property. You're abandoning your estate over here. And the more you separate yourself from the state, the more you place it out there for it to be taken under adverse possession. So if you're waving that red, black, and green flag, you're supposed to know this. You're supposed to know that this was the western half of the Carthaginian Empire that was landmarked by Hannibal Bay in 550 BC. You're supposed to know that this is the western half of the Phoenician Empire, who landmarked the place dealing with the Davenport stele, the Pontotoc stele, with Libyan and Phoenician and ancient Egyptian writing on it. You're supposed to know all of these things. You're supposed to know that the Egyptians never called themselves black because there was no word in their language for that. You're talking about something that came about in the Middle Ages of Europe. So you're supposed to know all of these things. You're supposed to know about the principles of nationality if you are waving that red, black, and green flag. There's no excuse. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And nationality falls under the principles of law of use singleness and use police. So you're supposed to know these things. So are you getting mad at, by people getting mad at this European dealing with this flag is actually a moot point. You're being played. You're being played just like a chessboard. They're being played on one end and you're being played on the other. Right now, they wanted to open up the South for vast economic foreign colonization. I'll say it like that. Vast economic foreign colonization. New York already heavily colonized in economics and commerce by foreigners. California already heavily colonized in economics and commerce by foreigners. Chinese, Palestinians, Lebanese, all these various folks. And you're still getting marginalized in these areas. Same with Michigan, Illinois, and a lot of other places. The South was really the last frontier and stronghold. Like you may go to Atlanta, you go to Florida, and you will see, a lot of people, Hindus or ancient Asiatics from Peru, Hindustan. They're down there doing commerce. Places like Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, and all of these places. These were like the last, in Georgia too, a lot of parts of Georgia, these were like the last stronghold of Albion, so-called white man economic barriers as to where they control the economics of it. Louisiana, all of these various places. So now what they want to do is, this is the perfect time to do away with anything that their mind can connect to a rallying point. The rallying point basically being the statues, Nathan Bedford Forrest that they're removing in Tennessee, the Tennessee battle flag that everybody's calling the Confederate flag, and all of these various Confederate memorabilia as to where they have adopted and identified as symbols of what they call heritage, but actually it's low-key what they call white power. I call it adjective power, because that's exactly what it is. It's like black power, white power. It's adjective power. That's it. descriptive power. There's no nationality in that. But they're doing away with all of those things that they can identify with. So now what happens is everything is opened up. Foreigners can come in, and they pretty much know that their interests are going to be now protected, and they can come in and do what's called economic colonization. And the sad part about it is you still have the so-called Black Power groups, adjective power groups, of the African-American, so-called African-American, that he's missing the biggest point. Why aren't you engaging in commerce on your land? Why aren't you setting up infrastructure on your land? Because if not, what's going to happen is so-called foreigners are going to come in and they're going to monopolize points that you're going to miss out on your own land, and you'll be marginalized again. They're already about to marginalize the Southern Caucasians. About to be marginalized.
What's up? Sorry, Mark. When you said the marginalization and that they're not just doing this with so-called Negro, Black, color people, but they're also doing this with other nations as well.
Well, what they're doing is, as far as over here in the South, they're doing this. They're about to marginalize the Caucasians. His power structure is broken. And probably 2 to 3 generations from now, they won't even remember that Civil War stuff. 100 years from now, they won't even remember that Civil War stuff. You got to understand the power that they say 100 years ahead or better. So basically, what's going to happen is they're creating just like what they call our brothers south of the border, the mixtape Moors or the Mexicans. They call them the new Negro. Well, here in about 50 to 100 years from now, even though you got what they call the poor white trash, they call him the new Negro. But they're going to make all of them the new Negro, because America cannot afford to lose in this global position of commerce. The elite, right now, this is one of the biggest consumer nations on the planet. Well, biggest consumer, I'm not going to say nation, because this is the Moroccan Empire, which consisted of various nations. You had various nations over here that came together and actually, was under the jurisdiction of the Moroccan Empire. But, for lack of a better term, for dialogue sense right now, this is one of the biggest consumer nations on the planet. They want to make sure that, number one, the labor will be cheap, and it will stay at the top of consumerism. So any ideology that doesn't support that, it has to go. It has to go. And that's why Noble Raleigh said, we're going to stop the wheel of commerce turning. When it starts back up, it's going to be in the Asiatic favor. We have to put our position in favor. So once everything comes back up, we're going to be in good standing. We'll have a toehold, on economic, what do they call it, a spigot, economic spigot where we can control the flow of commerce. Mm-hmm. But we got to put ourselves in position for this. So the thing about it is, as it stands right now, let's talk about the black slaveholders, or so-called black slaveholders there. A lot of those people, especially if you go down to Louisiana, go to Arkansas, Mississippi, parts of Tennessee, a lot of the so-called black people were actually slaveholders. They were slaveholders, like I said earlier, who fought on the side of the Confederacy to maintain their economic interest in the chattel bondage of people that look like them and ones that didn't look like them, which would be the so-called African American and the so-called white man. So a lot of these people now, they haven't gone anywhere. They still sitting on top of money. And not only that, what they did was they just shifted themselves into places of commerce and power, where now they're your politicians, these so-called black politicians that's supposed to have your best interests. A lot of them men got slave masters or plantation history, as far as ownership and control. The ones that they call your boule and all of these other guys, they never gone anywhere. Magazine people, they own and control magazines, television, radio stations. a lot of these people are still in positions of power, but they're not working for you. They're maintaining, right now they're working to maintain what they call the so-called white power structure. So, here's the thing, like I said, until the so-called Black Power groups truly understand, number one, the history of that flag that they got a problem with now, and understand that, hey, man, a lot of our people played a part in so-called black people's demise, as well as so-called white people. And not only that, you had white people that actually played a hand in so-called white people's demise. Until both sides learn the history of their flag, they're doing exactly what the power structures want them to do, to be for something that's trivial and frivolous. So the back door is open up, and all the while, the South is being colonized with people from other parts of the globe who are about to take over and control your economics. And then when you wake up, you're not going to be able to have a toehold in anything, because the major economics is already set up. And I'm already seeing it. We don't own any hair stores here in Arkansas. None. I have not seen one so-called black hair care products or hair or store products here. Not only that, it's gotten so bad that what they're doing is they're secondhand reselling fruits and vegetables to stores in less economically developed parts of the city. I'm seeing it here in Little Rock. I'm watching it go on. In other words, if fruits and vegetables may sit too long in a Kroger's that's out in the Web Stew area, they will move them and resell them to one of the stores in the hood. Now it has a shelf life of who knows what. I mean, I'm sitting here watching this stuff. So what we're doing is we're putting ourselves in a position to start to grow our own vegetables and fruits and things of that nature with aquaponics. We got some moors we have moors out here that own land. We're about to do some major scale things around here. So therefore, man, we'll be fine. Now, a lot of, like I said, trying to talk to a lot of these so-called black power people, man, you can until you're blue in the face. They're not going to get it. They're not going to get it. They're not going to understand nationality. I mean, it's like a waste of your time. And let me put this out there too. You also got a lot of low-key Moors who are actually black power. Mm-hmm. The movement has been infiltrated. The movement has been infiltrated. And they don't care anything about law. They don't give a damn about law, excuse my language. They only, man, either number one, they're agents who've been sent to stir up confusion in the movement, or either they're ignorant. So we have to be careful of those people. If you see Moors like that, get away from them. Don't even waste your time. If they're not studying true science, and what I mean by true Moor science, history, law, genetics, commerce, politics, political science, things of that nature, which are basis to help you coalesce into a group or people that's able to move forward in economics, because commerce is the lifeblood of every nation. The lifeblood of every nation. If the commerce stops, the nation ceases to exist. These people, man, are not helping you to understand and get to a point where you can do that, get away from them, because they're going to bring heat on you. And right now, these people coming in from India, Hindustan, and Manchuria, so-called China, they have a problem with, man, number one, a lot of all these riots and things going on in the street, and they want to make sure that their people are safe over there. So they've already told the corporate United States, hey, look, I need to clean these areas up. I don't want nothing happening to our people that's over there doing commerce. So if you see Moors that don't understand that, don't even waste your time with them. Speak once, and if they can't hear you, keep it moving.
As well, Moor. You have any websites or email or something like that to send out? If people want to get a hold of you, they might have some questions, or they might want to support music or whatever, books, DVDs, whatever.
They can reach me at, I have a website up now, and I'd like to thank Sister Tamara L for that. She was gracious enough to do me a website. It's ObaShango-El.com. It's O, the Ostrich, B is in Brazil, A, S is in Samuel, H is in house, A, N is in Nancy, G is in good, O, E, L, ObaShango-El.com. And there's a OneDrive on there that's chock full of information. I mean, tons of information. There's about 20 gigs of information.
All right, more give thanks, yo, for everything. You already know.
Already, brother. Thank you for having me, man. Let me say this. Everybody right now needs to make sure that they understand how this thing is moving. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, we need to keep our eye on that. And the reason being is because it's going to make competition over here, man, even more of a, as far as getting a toehold in commerce. So therefore, we need to start keeping an eye out on what the democracy does. Not that the democracy actually can affect us, because not only, by rights of blood and kindred, we're in our proper status and jurisdiction. They can never separate us from the land. But we need to make sure that we're watching what's going on over there, because our commerce is still intertwined with that side of things. It has to, circulate, so we need to keep an eye on that. And another thing I want to say is, a lot of these Moors that like to argue and waste time, on trivial things. I've been seeing Moors online like to try to go back and forth and argue. Don't even waste your time with them. But these people, man, are not about, economics and commerce. If anybody wants to sit up there and argue, do not waste time with them. 86 them, D6 them, get rid of them, and keep it moving. We don't have time like that to waste, because the democracy is not slowing down in their agenda. And if we're not careful, we can get caught up underneath the undercurrent. So, as far as dealing with economics and commerce, so we need to make sure, man, that anybody wants to waste time, get rid of them. Don't waste your breath.
Islam, more. Appreciate you.
All right, then, brother. Shalom, boy.
Y'all give me a shout tomorrow.
Okay, then.
All right. Peace. All right, Ashe. Yeah. So there it is. ObaShango-El.com. You go check that out. Wanted to quickly put on the record, race, an ethnical stock, a great division of mankind, having in common certain distinguishing physical peculiarities, constituting a comprehensive class appearing to be derived from a distinct primitive source, a tribal or national stock, a division or subdivision of one of the great racial stocks of mankind, distinguished by minor peculiarities. Keep in mind, you're also going to go to morrisciviletter.net, Morris, CIVILITTER.net, morrisciviletter.net, and you're going to do some studying on that site with Brother Abdullah Bey and his discourse on the race paradigm as far as how the Europeans classify. Because, in the law dictionary, Black's Law Dictionary, page 1423, 4th edition, we are told that a race is a national stock. National. That's why Noble Drew Ali could ask the Moors, do you have race pride? And if you do have race pride, join the Moorish Science Temple of America. He wasn't talking race from the perspective of what the reconstructors say, the black, brown, yellow people, polka dot people. He was talking from a national perspective, right? Maybe even a tribal perspective, because we already know that Moors are the Aboriginal indigenous people of specifically the Americas and everywhere else that they domicile. wanted to put this one on the record. Pharrell, on cover of Ellie, whatever magazine. Notice down here with his name how you could kind of not see one of the L's. Now, they should have, moved his name over a little bit so it's all over the sweater. Why would they put his name like Pharrell, Pharrel, and then he's on Elle magazine, and then he's wearing chief war feathers? Just something interesting stuff. The plot thickens though. Musician Pharrell Williams has issued an apology for wearing a native headdress on the cover of LUK magazine, saying in a statement that he is genuinely sorry for the image. I respect and honor every kind of race, background, and culture. Pharrell's apology comes after the hashtag #NotHappy, a reference to the singer's #1 song Happy, began circulating on Wednesday in response to the photo, with many online commenters slamming Pharrell for appropriating a culturally significant symbol in the name of fashion. The singer is not the first popular musician to experience backlash for wearing native apparel. Singer Wayne Coyne of the Flaming Lips recently came under fire for posting a photo on his Instagram feed showing himself, his girlfriend, and his dog all wearing headdresses in an apparent show of support for singer Christina Fallon, who'd recently come under fire for doing the same. Right now, we're gonna say that they're making a mockery because magazine don't care about no Aboriginal culture or nothing like that. It was strictly for fashion. But the reality of the situation is that the Moors are back. So a lot of these external things that people are using to try to identify themselves with, some cultural whatever is irrelevant right now because these things are no longer fiction. These things are reality now. These things aren't stuff that people see in cowboy and Indian movies anymore. There's actual, real individuals now who know themselves. They don't call themselves Black Indians and stuff like that. They don't call themselves Cherokee and all these tribal names and say that they're native. They say that they're Moors. When you say that you're Moors, once you identify yourself by your bloodline, you don't need the external things anymore. They become useless. So they use it in fashion stuff. Because, all chiefs are European anyways right now. Right? Asiatic chiefs right now. Unless they're in the Moor Science Temple and they're calling themselves Sheik or something. Right? This one was interesting. The R word is no different than the N word. Red Sambo. So Indians even talking about they don't want to get classified by the so-called tag adjective red. But our people don't see those things. Too busy marching up and down the damn place for nothing. Marching for nothing. Now, some other points with regard to this Confederate flag and Civil War and all this type of stuff. You're going to do your research on Morrill tariff, Morrill tariff. So Morrill tariff was a tax on Southern people, which was 40 to 48% of Southern states' income having to go to the North. The North decided to abuse their power using Lincoln to tax, which led to the South seceding from the Union due to being taxed without representation. So the southern states were taking their sovereign state position. So in them taking their sovereign state position, they realized that the North was trying to enslave them. Because, you know, they have quote unquote sovereign authority to do whatever, right? The South and the North war, i.e. Civil War, was about the southern states not being enslaved through taxes by the North. So we're not talking about slavery stuff, because like Brother ObaShango said, majority of the slave masters during that time were Asiatics, and majority of the slaves were Europeans. And why would there be quote unquote black Confederates who were slaves, but slave master gave them guns and they didn't kill all the Europeans? They went to go fight. Now, you just whipped this guy yesterday, right? And now there's a war. And you're going to take this individual who you just whipped yesterday, put a gun in his hand, right? The Battle of Fort Sumter, S-U-M-T-E-R, was the bombardment and surrender of Fort Sumter near Charleston, South Carolina. That started the American Civil War, not slavery. Fort Sumter was occupied by the North, and Southerners wanted them to leave, but they decided to stay 30 days. The South took the fort food for the Northern soldiers. For 30 days, the South waited for the North to get off their sovereign state, quote unquote. Following declarations of secession by 7 southern states, South Carolina demanded that the U.S. Army abandon its facilities in Charleston Harbor. On December 26, 1860, Major Robert Anderson of the U.S. Army moved his small command from the vulnerable Fort Moultrie on Sullivan's Island to Fort Sumter, a substantial fortress controlling the entrance of Charleston Harbor. An attempt by U.S. President James Buchanan to reinforce and resupply Anderson using the unarmed merchant ship Star of the West, interesting name for their unarmed merchant ship, Star of the West, fired upon by shore batteries on January 9, 1861. So the South Carolina Southerners said, we're gonna allow you to be here 30 days because, you know, you guys are waiting for the ships to come or whatever. All right, when the ships come, you guys leave. All right, cool. So 30 days, before 30 days up, Southerners see the ships coming and declare that as an act of war on their sovereign, quote unquote, territory. Keep in mind, we're talking about South, aka Republican. We are talking about Asiatics. Don't forget the silent movie, Birth of a Nation, where all the so-called Negroes are mad that Europeans are in blackface. And that's a racist movie. And that movie's about the Ku Klux Klan and how the Ku Klux Klan started, and they're killing Negroes in the movie and killing black people, and they're doing all these things against black people, and they're wearing blackface. And, you know, Negroes getting all emotional. And not thinking, but getting emotional. And not thinking. Because if they watch Birth of a Nation, we talked about this before in class, in the Birth of a Nation, the Europeans who were playing blackface, they were playing blackface and they were acting as the senators and the congressmen. The Europeans who were playing blackface which means they were pretending to be black people, quote unquote, in the silent movie Birth of a Nation. The position that the so-called black people had in Birth of a Nation was congressmen and senators. Why is this KKK movie depicting the congressmen and the Southerners as dark-skinned people? Telling these people that this is their government. But they know that they dumbed the Negro down, so Negro doesn't consider reading at all. Right? There were no deaths on either side as a direct result of this engagement, although a gun explosion during the surrender ceremonies on April 4th caused 2 Union deaths. The Southerners viewed what the North did as an act of aggression. When the South seceded the Union and the North under Lincoln, when the South seceded the Union and the North under Lincoln said Emancipation Proclamation edict, why did they only free the slaves in the South, but not the slaves in the North? Because there was slavery going on in the North, but it ain't the Emancipation Proclamation to free those ones. They went outside of their, I mean, it's not really outside of their jurisdiction, but this is how Europeans tell the story, Southerner European, that the North went out of their jurisdiction because, you know, the South, they're a whole different, they have nothing to do with the North. So how does Lincoln have jurisdiction over the South to say that they have to get rid of the slaves? And then people say that's why it was the war, when it wasn't. That wasn't the why of the war. The war was because of the tax, without representation, and the so-called "this is our sovereign" whatever, and they saw the ships coming as an act of war, so they fired on it. So some things to consider with regard to, you know, Southern slave masters and, you know, Southern banners / flags having to do with racism. Not one Southern ship brought slaves to America. It was Northern and British ships, according to the story. According to the slave trade story, it was Northern and British that brought so-called slaves to America. But nobody's going at them. This is all the Southerners talking. Right? Because I've been dialoguing with some people, and this is their perspective of what's going down. Right? It was the North that established the institution of slavery when they fraudulently, this is Europeans talking, when the North fraudulently added amendments dealing with slavery into the Constitution to justify their position as slaveholders. That's really what the so-called Negro, black, colored people that are mad at Confederate flags should really be mad at, about them altering the Constitution without a constitutional convention. Because remember, Birth of a Nation, those are the senators and the congressmen. The same Asiatics complaining about take down flags. The Confederate flag has a historical representation, but is used with an emotional perspective. The Europeans talking that they know that there's this thing going on, you know, with the quote-unquote races. But it's not black and white. Like there was a couple Europeans who they knew that they never enslaved anybody because they come from descendants of European slaves in America. And they don't know why people are mad. Why are people mad? Like, why are people mad at me? Because I look how I look? I was a slave, right? European. Only 5 to 6% of the South were slave owners, which means 95% of the South Europeans were not slave owners. South had no representation in Congress to fight the 48% tax the North was trying to impose. Again, speaking about Confederates, President Jefferson Davis of the Confederacy, and everyone knows that the Confederacy has white supremacist beliefs. All right. According to the following biography from the website of the University of Ohio, Verena Howell Davis was born at her family plantation in Briers near Natchez, Mississippi in 1826. As a plantation owner's daughter, Davis received her education from a private tutor and later attended finishing school. She was 17 when she met Jefferson Davis while visiting the Hurricane, the plantation of his older brother, Joseph Emery Davis. Uncle Joe was an old family friend, but it was the first time she met any of his extended family. Davis was taken with her beauty and intelligence, and by the time her visit ended 2 months later, she and Davis were unofficially engaged. Margaret Howell, her mother, objected to the engagement. She was not convinced that Davis, widowed and 18 years older than her daughter, was a good match for Verena. She thought he was too brooding and feared that Verena would be second fiddle to his former wife. Eventually, however, she gave in and they were married February 26, 1845. Now, we know this is a sister. We know that this is a sister. So we can't even front. So this is the president of the Confederacy. The so-called racist guys who fly, flags that mean racism and they're KKK members and all that. But he has an Asiatic wife, though. He has an Asiatic wife. Why does the KKK guy have an Asiatic wife? And he's supposed to be racist and all that stuff. If somebody's playing our people, and our people are falling for the game. You can get the book by Ruth Painter Randall. The book on Verena. Verena, and clearly that's not a European. We know that's not European. And we know that that's not a European. We know that. Don't front, don't lie, don't create stuff. Don't, oh, it's a black and white picture, you can't tell. Stop it. You know that she's not a European. Clearly she's not a European. Okay. You want to also put on the record some of these Asiatics, because we know that Asiatics have long been in the South. They have a rich history of being in the South. And a lot of them, like Brother ObaShango-El was saying, a lot of them are not too, against, Confederate flag and stuff like that. Like all these New Age Negroes who think they know stuff and they know their self and all that stuff, right? They're dissing. Anthony Hervey, Why I Wave the Confederate Flag. You go get his book, get some history. Why I Wave the Confederate Flag. Antonio Hervey. Right, don't forget, Antonio Hervey, book about why I wave the Confederate flag. Asiatic, wrote a book about why he waves the Confederate flag. Quote unquote, Black Mississippi Confederate flag supporter dies after rally when car full of jeering African American men force him off the road. Anthony Hervey, 49, was chased by a group of men while driving home from an Alabama flag rally when his car flipped. The passenger, Arlene Barnum, said they were pursued by a group of young black men while en route back to Mississippi on Sunday. Barnum posted to Facebook while pinned inside the vehicle, "Help, they are after us. My vehicle upside down." A black Mississippi man who often dressed in Confederate regalia to support the state flag has died in a one-car accident. The Highway Patrol says 49-year-old Anthony Hervey was killed Sunday when the 2005 Ford Explorer he was driving left the roadway and overturned on Mississippi Highway 6 in Lafayette County. A passenger in Hervey's car, Arlene Barnum, tells the Associated Press that Hervey swerved and crashed after another vehicle carrying 4 or 5 young black men pulled up alongside them, yelling and looking angry. Barnum said Hervey yelled something back at the other vehicle before losing control and crashing. "It spun like crazy and we flipped. It was awful," she said. She said she gave that account to a Mississippi state trooper when she was taken to the hospital after the accident. In the moments following the crash, Barnum was apparently able to post to Facebook where she wrote, "Help, help, they're after us. My vehicle upside down." Shortly after, Barnum posted again, "Anthony Hervey is pinned in. Gas is leaking." Barnum told McAllister News Capital that she wasn't particularly well acquainted with her fellow black Confederate supporter, but that she'd let him drive her truck. "I didn't know him really," Barnum said of Hervey. "I gave him a ride to the rally." The Mississippi Highway Patrol did not immediately respond to the Associated Press questioning, blah, blah. Bynum said she and Hervey had been returning home Sunday from Birmingham, Alabama, where they attended a Saturday rally to save the Lynn Park Confederate Monument. City leaders there recently voted to remove the memorial from the park. Barnum said they were in her SUV, which was not displaying any Confederate flags or stickers. So how do they know to chase him down or whatever if he doesn't have any Confederate flags, pictures, or anything like that? Because remember, that wasn't his truck. That was the sister's truck. Hervey of Oxford has drawn attention over the years for opposing efforts to change the flag. He said he dressed in rebel soldier garb to honor blacks who served with the Confederacy during the Civil War. He was often seen wearing the Confederate uniform and waving a rebel flag on the Oxford Square. In an interview with Associated Press in 2001, after a new state flag design was defeated, Hervey said Mississippians support the flag with a Confederate battle emblem in the corner is akin to standing up for home. "This is not racism. This is my heritage," Hervey said. Hervey is also author of the book Why I Wave the Confederate Flag. The book's description runs in part, "What makes this book dangerous is its raw honesty. Mr. Hervey lifts the veil of black decadence at the same time he exposes the lies and political correctness of a modern-day America. This is not racism, this is my heritage." So, rest in peace to Brother Hervey. And you know, just like we do with everybody else, you go get their book, because Moors read. ObaShango already told you, we study everything, so don't even front. Don't even play around. Right? But know that they did the brother like they did William Cooper, James Trafficant, and whoever else. Right? People who put truth out. But, you know, when they're not protected by having a nationality, then they could do stuff to you. That's why nationality is the order of the day. Right? Want to say Islam to police officer Leroy Smith, who was helping this Klansman suffering from a heat stroke. Right? You know, nobody already told him, learn to love instead of hate. You know, I don't hear Mr. Heatstroke talking about leave me alone, nigger, and all that stuff. He's gladly getting the help up all them stairs to some AC. The Klansman, though, you know, National Socialist Movement attire. You know, look them up. National Socialist Movement, another branch of the Klan, hiding. Out there trying to play around, like you can rally and stuff like that, talking about 100 degrees in certain places, 120 and all that, talking about you're going to go rally somewhere with AE or whatever, that the same nigger that you don't like had to help you up the stairs. You know, real. It's real where this could go. Race war. Race war. Our friend Rochelle Dolezal, July 20th, is Monday. She comes out the woodworks. Weeks after making headlines amid accusations that she is a white woman passing herself off as African American, Rochelle Dolezal says she is no longer confused about who she is. She is a black woman, she told Vanity Fair. It's not something that I could put on or take off anymore. Like I said, I've had my years of confusion and wondering who I really was, and why and how do I live my life and make sense of it all. But I am not confused about it any longer. I think the world might be, but I'm not. I just feel like I didn't mislead anybody. I didn't deceive anybody. If people feel misled or deceived, then sorry that you feel that way, but I believe that's more due to their definition and construct of race in their own minds than it is to my integrity or honesty. Because I wouldn't say I'm African American, but I would say I'm black. There's a difference in those terms. That's why the Moors, being, you know, the brilliant minds that they are, as soon as this dropped, you know, they had their little stuff out there talking about the etymology of black means pale. What the F is the problem? What's the problem? You guys mad? You're not the black people. Europeans are the black people. Leader, head, whatever of NAACP came out and told the Negroes that they're not black. And what they do? Charge her with, you know, impersonation, charge her with all this type of stuff, but they would never tell Mary J. Blige take off that blonde hair and stop being a European. They'll never tell Beyonce take off that blonde hair. They'll never tell all these bleach skin idiots that they're perpetrating. And forget the blonde hair. They'll tell the sisters who have the Ethiopian weave to take out their stuff, stop faking. Use your real nails. Are you putting on nails on your nails? They won't tell them nothing. But they have a problem with this European saying that she's black, which she is. Because the etymology of black means pale. That's why black power cannot win a race war. Because black is not a race. It's a slave tag. And black means pale. And according to science, black means death. No way you're winning a race war with that crap. It's not happening. Know for a fact that if you play the game of I'm a Moor, we go out there, support our people, and march in the rally, you will get some sound device, you will get some pepper spray, the new water hose, you will get, might get your ass kicked. You could get shot the hell up just because you want to show solidarity with stateless people who have no rights. So if you're with them, you have no rights. So don't complain after. I mean, don't be calling Moors about you got kidnapped at the rally, come help. Shouldn't be at a goddamn rally. You should be home studying. Be rallying. Rally for what? Who are you rallying for? The so-called Confederate flag belongs to Asiatics. That's why Anthony Hervey said that it's his culture. Not some racism. No such thing as black people unless they're Europeans. So black power is European power. That's why Europeans in power. Because all these so-called people that call themselves black, whether they're conscious or not, once they identify themselves as black and they put it in the ethers, what they're really doing is putting their energy out there. And their energy is going to whoever is the black people. That's why Europeans have so much power over them. That's why the Europeans have so much power over them. Because they're hexing themselves, calling themselves something that they're not under the guise of identity. Stanley K. Lott, get his book, Slavery and the U.S. Government. Stanley K. Lott, Slavery and the U.S. Government. And once again, another Asiatic that reps now. Remember, this is a Klansman next to him. Why is a Klansman? Because, you know, Confederate flag, that's Klansman. Why is a Klansman just openly taking a picture with an Asiatic wearing Klansman stuff? Why? Like, what's really going on? What's really going on? What is it that our people are missing? What don't they get? Right? You know what I mean? They've been told. Everybody told them. Right? Think this was a mockery of the Klan? This wasn't a mockery of the Klan. This was good brother Dave Chappelle the good brother Dave Chappelle, going back to his roots, it was ancestors in Spain that wore the cone hats. Look at all these Klansmen. Oh no, they're not Klansmen. That's not KKK. Sorry. Good try though. That's not KKK though. Good try though, but it's not KKK. They would call these people Saracens. Saracen is a code name for Moors. Just look at them lined up on the street. Look at them lined up. This is their little Moors and Christians parade crap that they do in Europe. And some people dress up like the Moors, and then some people dress up like the Europeans. And these people are dressed up like the Moors. Keep in mind, Django, with the KKK scene, that before they adopted the full regalia, they just had the bag on there with the eyes cut out by somebody's wife, and then people can't see through the bags and stuff like that. That's really the KKK stuff. The bag with the eyes cut out, and nobody could see where they're going while they're riding a horse. And then when they realized, don't forget, it was their boy Alfred Pike, who gave them their kickstart, gave them some regalia called their own. The criminals were forced to wear pointed hats and walk through the streets while people threw rotten vegetables at them, spat on them, and insulted them. Later, during the celebration of the Holy Week, Easter in Mediterranean countries, penitentes, people doing penitence for their sins, would walk through the streets with pointed hats. This is not KKK. It's not the Klan. Not the Klan. Speaking of Klan, let's just put something on the record. Because our people so lost. And I'm kind of feeling what ObaShango is saying. You know what I mean? You got Negro black color. Well, you know that. Out of here. No more to say to people who want to keep playing the game that they're property titled. Who want to play the game that they're shadowed. They're on their own. Like I said, only people get a pass is immediate family, because, you know, families stick together regardless of what. Everybody else, they're on their own. And at least, even though my mom doesn't say that she's a Moor, at least she got Quran at her bedside. At least when I call the house, the phone says Kudro, so when she answers, she has to answer Kudro, not the name that, you know, she branded me with. I say Kudro, you know, it's on the phone, so you know, call me anything else. The name's on the phone. Right? At least my sister's Muslim. And my two nieces, they're learning Arabic. I'm not gonna say that they're Moors, but, you know, attempting. Everybody else, on your own. Because nationality is the order of the day, especially right now. And if you, like, the last maybe day and a half, I've just been watching, this black stuff versus KKK and, rallies and, people got their little phone cameras taping stuff, and like, our people are emotional wreck. Our people are emotional wreck. All because they think that they're black. And somebody's mad at them because they're black. And black means pale. So people who know that black means pale already know that these people are incompetent. And if you're incompetent, then that means I can probably do anything I want to you and get away with it. Which is what, Roof did. Darrell, or whatever his name is, right? The guy who his black friend is I don't know that he's racist. He never said nigger to me or whatever. Then European friends said, well, yeah, he said he's gonna shoot everybody, and he was, working on this thing for 6-8 months and all that, and we knew he was gonna do it. Y'all never told nobody he's gonna shoot up this people. Just let him. Well, we didn't think that he was gonna be serious or whatever, you get you drunk and talk stuff sometimes. You never killed the rabbit when you killed the rabbit and all that type of stuff. But our people playing this game, that world hates them. Because of their complexion, the world hates them. That's incompetent talk. And anybody talking like that, warning you, stay away from those people. Because those people are setting themselves up for pepper spray, getting shot up. Don't forget, Social Security Administration, they already got their hollow point bullets and stuff like that. So they're not trying, a hollow point bullet will go through 50 people. One bullet would go through 50 people. And they're not playing if they're using war crime bullets, and they're saying that they're Social Security Administration. Why do they have hollow point bullets? What army do they have? And who are they fighting? They're fighting the insurgents. Who are the insurgents? The insurgents are the people who have no nationality, who don't want to recognize that they're the government, and the people who they're claiming is racist against them is really a private corporation that they shouldn't even really be talking to, because, private corporation has no jurisdiction in their affairs. But being that they call themselves black people, black Indians, whatever else attached to that, African this and all that stuff, all these slave brands, that ties them to the jurisdiction of assumed jurisdiction and color. And they have no standing at law. But, Malik Zulu Shabazz, he's going to be up there, black lawyers, whatever, doing their little rally crap. He's attorney, though. He has law dictionary, just like Moors have, but he's not going to tell people about improper persona. He's not going to tell them about civil rights is unconstitutional. He's not going to tell them the stuff that, he's supposed to be telling them. Well, oh, yeah, because he's an attorney. That means he's an officer of the court, and he works for the court. So him going and rallying and talking with Asiatics about they should, do like Denmark VC or whatever, finish the work that he did and stuff like that, kill the slave masters and all that, when he's officer of the court. You guys aren't pulling him down from the thing. Isn't the court part responsible? Because the court was the one that gave Roof $1 million bond or whatever like that. Okay, well, Malik Zulu Shabazz works for those people because he has a bar card. Oh, but don't forget, when we debated Seti, Polite, or whoever, he came on the record said that he's a Moor. And he came on the record and said that he respects and honors Noble Drew Ali. Why would he say that? And then right after that, he left the New Black Panther Party. He did say that he's a Moor. Out of his own mouth. So if somebody's going to say they're a Moor, and then after talk about black people, black power, and all that stuff, still has a bar card, then, you know, maybe he was trying to tell you something because he's compromised. So what's he going to do for himself in that compromised position of being an officer of the court? He works for the people who take off their KKK stuff, put on a suit and a robe, and go adjudicate cases. And then after the case stuff's done, they go home, put on their hood, their cloak that they got from the Moors, and then they go to unconscious Moors, yards, and burn crosses. And then, you know, conscious, unconscious Moors are saying that there are some Christians, you know, and Christianity is whatever devil, and then, you know, Europeans who are KKK, they're protectors of the Christian creed, but they have a Quran. And then they're going to follow jackasses like Seti, who's going to convince people that Moors copied the KKK because the Moors have a Quran and the KKK has a Quran, and a real Muslim says Quran. But he calls himself black, and he's the lightest black guy I ever seen. But he's black though, but he's lighter than black. How are you lighter than black and then calling yourself black? Oh, black means pale. But they're not going to go kill Seti. You know, kill crackers, you know, kill the white man. You know, the Seti's pale, black, right? So why don't they going to KKK for? What KKK do to them? No, KKK is constitutionalist. They got a charter. Their charter is to defend the Constitution. Constitution, their position is to defend the Constitution. The KKK, go read their charter. So if their position is to defend the Constitution, and then in the Dred Scott case, you learn that African slaves can't be citizens, which means that they're unconstitutional, then the Klan is doing their job of eliminating statelessness. So instead of getting mad at the Klan, how about correct your status so they can't do those things to you anymore? Real simple. But our people are so done. People are so done. They will never get it. Even though all their leaders told them. Zulu Shabazz told them that they're Moors. Marcus Garvey spoke about nationality. El Hajj told them that Negro and black comes from necro. all of their leaders have brought some type of constitutional declaration of independence, whatever stuff to them, some human rights, whatever stuff to them. Know thyself and ancestors, and their intention is to yell for freedom, march for freedom, burn flags for freedom, which aren't really flags, which are banners, which means you're double incompetent. So you don't even know what a flag is from what a banner is, and then you're burning the banner. You're burning the banner and thinking that you're being revolutionary. So, too much fast food makes you incompetent. Start making some smoothies or something like that. Eat some veggies once in a while. Because these people, they're done for. And putting it on the record, black power, black supremacy, whatever they call themselves, will never win a race war. Never. Because they're too stupid. You're the majority, and you're so stupid you're not even going to win a race war. And you're the majority. Oral statements and prophecies. Number 150. Brother T. Booker Bay said that the Holy Prophet told the Moors, in 2 weeks, I'm going down south. When I get down there, the Ku Klux Klan is going to stop me. At first, it is going to look like they are against me. Then, they are going to lead me to where I'm going. How come the Klan didn't lynch him? Why is it that Noble Drew Ali goes to the south? The Ku Klux Klan saw him, acknowledged him, knew that he was there, but they didn't do anything to him. Maybe because they don't have jurisdiction over Negro black colored people. Or are they the real Negro black colored people? And the reality of the situation is that they know the history. They know who the slave masters are. They know who the slaves are. And when you deal with them in your national capacity, they have a tendency to not want to deal with you. Not just him. Like, don't forget, they're out there waving the red, black, green, right? Which Garvey brought that to them, right? Okay, so they're waving the red, black, green, which they, the black guys, the black power, black supremacy people, they say Garvey brought that flag to them. Let's see, where should we start? They teach the Negro to look to the whites in a false direction. They, by their practices, are endeavoring to hold the Negroes in check as a possible dangerous minority group, and yet point them to the impossible dream of equality that shall never materialize, as they well know and never intended, at the same time distracting the Negro from the real solution and objective of securing nationalism. By thus decoying and deceiving the Negro, and sidetracking his real objective, they hope to gain time against him in allowing others of their race to perfect the plan by which the blacks are to be completely destroyed as a competitive, permanent part of white majority civilization and culture. Oh, and this is on page 71 for all the philosophies and opinion holders out there. They have succeeded in enslaving the ignorance of a small group of so-called Negro intellectuals whom they use as agents to rope in the unsuspicious colored or Negro people. They have become resentful and bitter toward the Ku Klux Klan and use the influence of their controlled newspapers to fight them, not because they so much hate the Klan where the Negro is concerned, but because the Klan, through an honest expression of the white man's attitude toward the Negro, prepares him to help himself. This hypocritical group of whites, like Spingarn and Story, have succeeded an earlier group that fooled the Negro during the days of Reconstruction. Instead of pointing the Negro to Africa as Jefferson and Lincoln did, they sought to revenge him for the new liberty given him by imprisoning him in the white man's civilization, to further rob his labor, exploit his ignorance until he is subsequently ground to death by a newly developed superior white civilization. The plot of these Negro baiters is wretched to contemplate. Hence, their hatred of me and their influence to crush me in an attempt to save the black race. Between the Ku Klux Klan and the Moorfield Story National Association for the Advancement of Colored People group, give me the Klan for their honesty of purpose towards the Negro. They are better friends to my race for telling us what they are and what they mean, thereby giving us a chance to stir ourselves than all the hypocrites put together with their false gods and religions, notwithstanding. Religions that they preach and will not practice, a God they talk about whom they abuse every day. Away with the farce, hypocrisy, and lie. It smells, it stinks to high heaven. I regard the Klan, the Anglo-Saxon clubs, the white America's societies, as far as the Negro is concerned, as better friends of the race than all other groups of hypocritical whites put together. I like honesty and fair play. You call me a Klansman, if you will, but potentially, every white man is a Klansman, as far as the Negro in competition with whites socially, economically, and politically is concerned, and there is no use lying about it. So instead of dirty Moors, Marcus Garvey would deal with the Klan before he deals with dirty Moors. For all those Moors out there who like to love and back and praise and applaud dirty Moors that came out and proved their dirt, but we honor them because they're Moors, so we're going to honor them. But when they're liars, and what's worse, a thief or a liar? Liar, because a liar is a thief, he's a murderer, he's whatever, because he's a liar. I'll go with the Klan too. And I got some lawns for them to take some crosses on if they need work. Because nationality is the order of the day. And if you have no nationality, shut your mouth, don't talk. That's what it is. Nothing personal. Get your status corrected. And we can talk all night. You know what Moors do? You know what Moors do? let a Moor find a Moor that, you know, he is vibrating on the same frequency with. Talk all night. You know how Moors do when it comes down to the info. You know how Moors do. Who are the Moorish Americans? Civic lesson book number 1. My brother Taj Tariq Bey. Get this at rvbaypublications.com. Knowledge and understanding solves all mystery. Put that on there again. Knowledge and understanding solves all mystery. All mystery is solved. From this hidden truth comes the motivation for the Union of States policy of white supremacy. Moors, know the truth and be free of hate and ignorance. Be yourselves. Reclaim your nationality and your birthrights. Ignorance is the greatest sin. If one would understand the social and economic motivations of a political body, one would know that seeds in history are planted that produced and motivated today's national and international social and civic policies. The mission of the Ku Klux Klan should not be judged by emotion or hateful opinion, but on merit of the factual history. The empowerment of any people is only through their birthright knowledge and the authoritative activities of their national sovereignty. All those Moors who say, you know, no sovereignty in the Moorish movement, you can't talk like that because Moors aren't sovereign and sovereign schemes and sovereign this and sovereign that or whatever. When the fact that you say nationality, you're talking about sovereign. The fact that you have a red flag with a 5-point green star, you're talking about sovereign. You got a fez on, you're talking about sovereign. So to say that sovereignty shouldn't be taught or shouldn't be learned by Moors is incompetence again. On this side now, but these people should know better, but they don't know better because they want to play club games with people. They want to play, we rule you. You can't do this, you can't do that. When this is your birthright that they never told you about for 100 years. Or ObaShango told you, 100 years. Still here. Can't figure this thing out. Wonder why. You should have made friends with the Ku Klux Klan instead of Negro, black, dirty Moor leaders. The empowerment of any people is only through their true birthright knowledge and the authoritative activities of their national sovereignty. Moors know these facts as it applies to themselves and need to discard the multiple slave brands and marks they have learned to cherish. There is clearly a solemn rule held prominently among clanners, and it is undeniably true. That rule is a dedicated determination to be themselves and not someone else. Clanners honor their mothers and their fathers. Clanners do not falsely claim the pedigree parentage names of another nation of people. Clanners do not impose themselves on other people's creeds and religions. Clanners love and respect their albinous genes, in spite of their weakness to the very sun which gives life. Clanners are not preoccupied with openly trying to mix with Moors. Clanners, as a general rule, do not alter their bodies, hair, eyes, or skin to imitate the Asiatic Moors. Clanners generally care for and strive for the preservation of their species. Clanners care for and defend the weak and disadvantaged among their own. Question: Can the above be honestly declared as being mean or evil? Is not self-preservation a divine law of nature? Are clanners in violation of nature's law by trying to preserve their albinous genetic strain? Study nature's law, then you be the judge. The above statements do not preclude the fact that the Albions originated from the Moors, or even the fact that European colonists have always sought after, raped, mated, and mixed with the Moors, whether openly or in secret. Time and history has always exposed the hypocrisy of all people, whether Oriental or Occidental, as nature has no respect for false race positions propagated for political and economic subversion. However, with that being said, the clanners, Europeans, are the true minority in numbers on the planet Earth. Their fear has much of its origin in this fact. There are always lessons to be learned in the ongoing human experience. Although the Europeans have taken a position of enmity with the Moors, it does not establish as truth that all they may do or say is therefore wrong. Thinking and reflection is the responsibility and business of man. No problem of any magnitude can be solved in the American experiment and experience if objectivity is not applied while seeking solutions to a problem. The determined position held by clanners should be a lesson in survival to all Negroes and blacks branded Moors who are truly seeking independence from European oppression. And that's, who are the Moorish Americans? So we get another book by Leonard Scruggs, Lynyrd Scruggs, The Uncivil War. The Uncivil War. Right? It's very deep how warped our people are. And that our people are going to get out of this madness that they're in, this emotional roller coaster that they like to ride. They're always throwing up on themselves, talking about, let's go back on the roller coaster. You just threw up on yourself. Why you want to go back on the roller coaster for? For what? What's the purpose? Right? But, you know, people who want to go on the roller coaster, keep throwing up on themselves, they'll keep going on the roller coaster. Don't worry about them. Stay away from those people so they don't hurl on you. It's that simple. Black Chesterfield defender of Confederate flag. It's not telling me to go kill people. So what we have to come to the realization of is that there are all these Asiatics, oh yeah, and Islam to the 29 Moors that's been online for you. Forgot to give you a shout out. The Chesterfield woman proud to display the Confederate flag. The Virginia flagger is speaking out and challenging stereotypes. I'm sick and tired of my white Christian Southern friends being attacked. People displaying a flag is not a problem. They are trying to pin the murder of 9 people on a flag. This is an inanimate object. It is right here. It is not harming me. It is not calling me bad names. It's not telling me go kill people. Cooper rejects the suggestion the flag is a symbol of racism or defenders of slavery. That is to say that I support the Confederacy. I actually believe in my heart they were good men. Karen says Confederate soldiers fought for states' rights. She says it was not about slavery. States' rights means my rights. Whites' rights over yours, said former Richmond City Councilman Marty Jewell of the message sent by Confederate flaggers. And if anybody can come up with another descriptive, I'll eat their hat. The forces waving that flag are always happy to find a fool who will say what they won't say themselves, but has a black face. Jewell says he feels sorry for Cooper. The poor thing, said Jewell. We pray for her. Cooper says she is accustomed to being called names. That's okay. I will fight for your freedom to call me names, said Cooper. That's what the First Amendment is all about. They make it a law, and I can't wear this. That's when I'm going to jail, and I'm going to be back in chains like my ancestors. Cooper says she plans to be buried with the Confederate flag. Former NAACP President H.K. Edgerton also defended the Confederate flag after protesters sprayed Black Lives Matter on a Confederate monument in Asheville, North Carolina. And here's repping her, whatever she's repping, because she knows that as far as she's concerned, this is not some racism or whatever for her. Like, keep in mind she's Asiatic. So interesting that she's Asiatic. She's talking about, the flag isn't about racism. But these Negroes out here marching, picketing, and all this stuff over race, which has nothing to do with them because they're stateless. Has nothing to do with them. Like, they shouldn't even be considering anything as far as race or marching or whatever, because of fiction. And they don't have any national standard. They don't have any tie to nationhood. How come? Why not? Because they're stateless. No nationality. You don't even consider rights. Forget bombing stuff and burning stuff down and all that stuff so you can get respect. Because all you guys are doing is burning down your own stuff anyways when you do all that. When we go back to the marching, Europeans, to put on the record, matter of fact, Asiatics are going to be on 125th Street, and they're going to put the Europeans' evidence on the record that they killed niggers. Not one picture of a cracker that they took. They're revolutionary though. Then as soon as more start talking on the level that they need to get talked to for their incompetence, they want to fight more. They can't wait till they see more and then do stuff to more. How about you deal with that European? That's violation. How about you deal with that Europeans that jacked up killer? You're not gonna go after them. You're gonna tell them more or something. Very that Moors they understand the truth about their nationality and their birthright. But that's all you have left. One or two questions, try to slam some of these out. Now, this one's pretty crazy. Right? Brother, just, send a message. Islam, brother, it was told to me in my dreams that I have had recently that I was a Moor. I also was told to study more science. Searching YouTube a few months back, I came across your channel. Ever since, I have been watching your live classes. I'm currently in NYC, quote unquote NYC. You're in Northwest of Mexico, but you understand what you're saying, right? I need guidance, etc., with regard to, well, what we tell people, first thing we tell people is make sure you check out rvbaypublications.com, because through that site, you'll be able to get a clear perspective of your nationality and your birthright. The site is extensive, but because it's important for people to learn correctly. Every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m., Blog Talk Radio Show, where you could call in. You can ask anything that you want. You just got to call in early to make sure you get on the line, because there's Moors all over the world that's coming to this Blog Talk show. So the phone number is 347-945-5899. 347-945-5899. You can't do that, just log on blogtalkradio.com/MHHS-eyes wide open. MHHS-eyes wide open. And you can go on that site and you'll be able to get, personal insight instead of just reading a site, because you know what it is on the site. Always want to get a little, you know what I'm saying? So try that, brother, and you have my email. You know what I mean? If you need anything else, just shoot an email over, and we'll definitely do our best. That was it. Oh, question. Of course, you're doing this stuff. So there's one more brief question, but the computer's tripping. So we'll have to answer those questions by email, Brother Lamar. I'll send you an email with your answer. But so we wanted to just open up people's peripherals a bit today, consider some things, look at some things differently, because how we've been looking at things, well, not we, but our people, how our people been looking at things is very warped and distorted. And it's like maybe they don't want to get it. I mean, maybe they're content in their position of where they are. And if that's the case, it's all right. You know what I mean? Like I tell people, as soon as you get these disgruntled people coming to you or whatever, you know what I mean? Dissing your stuff, right? As more, you ask them, prove me wrong. Like prove what we say wrong. right? With documented facts, not emotionalism. And that'll shut them up, or they're going to threaten you or something like that. Because, you know, conscious or unconscious morals, you know, they really don't want freedom on the level that they should want. You know, conscious morals, we're talking about the religious temple, dogma morals, you know, the passive morals. The ones that are going to tell people, you know, get licensed, but don't tell them about how to live within contracts. They're going to tell them, go get social card, change your name, put your free national name on. You know, I mean, every single thing out there, you know, when do all you told more, anything, the old business, keep it as it is, and do all new business in your free national name. But, you know, it is what it is, you know, unfortunately for them. Fortunately for us, we're active more. I mean, we study, we know what's up. We already been through the ringer to know what it feels like to go through the ringer. So next time, you know, it's no big deal. I mean, like, they're not really doing it. So we want to just put it on the record again. Ivorina, that's about the Confederate president's Asiatic wife. Okay? And that's by Ruth Painter Randall. Anthony Hervey, Why I Wave the Confederate Flag. Slavery and the U.S. Government, Stanley K. Lott. The Uncivil War, Leonard Shrug. The Civil War. War of the Moorish Americans, Taj Creek Bay. You can get this on rvbaypublications.com. Oral Statements, Prophecies, Noble Juali. You get that at the Modern Science Temple of America. You can also get it at rvbaypublications.com. Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. You can get that at any one of your favorite quote-unquote black bookstores. Should have this. They don't have that. Shop in there. 101 questionnaire that has our authority on the back that we started with. Well, yeah, and keep in mind also that we gained our independence July 20th, 1928, and a year later, they killed the prophet. Pretty much to the day of this. A year later, I think he did what he was supposed to do. As well, Noble Juali, The Last Prophet, Prophecies and Hadiths. And this is 7 Seal Publications, or just Google Elijah Pleasant Day. You can get this book. Oh yeah, can't forget, we gotta plug little brother, Andrew Parham Bay. Don't forget to pick up his joint. Midnight Express Books. Midnight Express Books. Email. Email, capital ME books1 at yahoo.com. Capital ME, capital BOOKS, the number 1 at yahoo.com. Phone number 870-210-3772. 870-210-3772. Help out little brother. He's doing some dead time right now, but he's keeping himself active. Good sized book. Cultivation of the I Am. That's what he got. That's what the ethers the Akashic records sent to him. Put it all together for the Moors. So we'll just close out with the prayer. Peace, love, and hotep to all the Moors that were online. All the active Moors stay active. All the passive Moors get active. All the dirty Moors, see you. See you, dirty Moors. You can't stop this time. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Noble Juali, Islam, Ashe. Oh yeah, and don't forget, ObaShango-El.com. Make sure you check that site out. ObaShango-El.com. Peace, love, and hotep. Islamism.